But right now, we're going to check in with family law attorney Lene Alley DeRutter. You may follow her on Twitter at Lene A. DeRutter. And this was an interesting study, Lene. Couples are actually more passionate these days, I suppose, about their politics than their faith. This, according to a study showing that people are more willing to disagree on faith and politics in relationships. Based upon what you're seeing, is that holding true, that we do end up seeing more arguments, more divorces based upon politics than faith?
I think so. I think kind of like you were touching on, well, let me just back up. I think that with there's more interfaith marriages. And so people are learning to blend their faith, and you've seen that develop over time, so that's not becoming a big issue, whereas there's not a lot of interpartisan marriages. And so a lot of times our party belief, our partisan beliefs stem from things a lot deeper. And that dictates a lot of things about us, from who we hang around, our community, how we believe our children should be raised, how we believe we should give to others. And so people are not able to get on the same page and move past that. And it creates a lot of resentment and anger and tension. And so I think you're in our environment too, our national environment is not helping people move past that.
You know, Lene, it's interesting. We still see that financial issues, number one cause of divorce. But if you dig down to research, I've seen in recent years to where the majority of couples that are not on the same page financially and they get divorced, they never had serious financial discussions before they got married. So I guess my question is, how many couples are only discovering each other's politics once they're already married?
I don't know how many are discovering once they're married, because I think that's a good point. I mean, obviously you're going to have these conversations, and it's going to become apparent. You might not say, hey, are you a Republican or you're a Democrat, but it's going to become apparent in your belief system of what side of the line you're on. I think what you're seeing is that people evolve in a marriage. I mean, you're not the same person, you were 10, 15, 20 years ago. And you, just like society evolves, you evolve, and your belief systems start evolving to some bit. And sometimes people evolve in different directions. And those issues start becoming a lot more, someone who might have been a moderate conservative, 10, 15 years ago is leaning more onto the Democrat side. And their spouse might have been a conservative as well, but they were a little more on the right. And so they started leaning even more right. And so you just see that gap becoming bigger and bigger. So I think politics have changed. Partisan politics, I believe, have changed. And so you see that evolution, too, in relationships when people have been with each other over time. Because, like I said, you don't remain the same person. You change as well.
Lene, how much of this as well in the study that showed that people are more willing to disagree on faith and politics, how much of this is a byproduct of people just not having as strong of a faith as they once did?
I saw that study too as well that you're referencing, and I think that's very interesting. I don't know if it is the increase of the interfaith marriage and being more tolerant to other religions and more accepting and understanding versus for some reason we're just not with politics. But part of it could be, too, that, like you said, I could see that being where religion is not as much of a role overall for whatever reason. I can't answer why. I know that when divorced couples come in, they don't necessarily say, I can't, I don't want to be with my husband because he's decided he's a Buddhist. It's more about the things he does or the beliefs he has, and maybe people are associating their beliefs more with political parties than they are with their religion.
Yeah, I think that's probably some sound analysis. Thank you so much for taking the time with us. It's an interesting conversation for sure. Lene Alley DeRutter, family law attorney, and you may follow her on Twitter at Lene A. DeRutter.